I recently had a conversation with a client and they asked a really thought-provoking question. Well, what should I have by now? How on track am I? Here they were in their early 30s, but already concerned with where they stood compared to people their own age. Well, thanks to large surveys like those done by the Federal Reserve and BlackRock, we were able to see where they stood and make adjustments to help them get on track. And if it worked for them, it can work for you. By the end of this video, you'll know what folks in their late 50s and early 60s typically have saved for retirement and what to do to play catch up before it's too late. Hey everybody, I'm Crossland of Suttle Crossland Wealth Advisors. I help folks build more tax-efficient retirements, so let's jump in. If you aren't sure where you stand or just feel behind, don't worry, you are not alone. Every year, BlackRock conducts a survey they call their Read on Retirement, and the most recent version included over 2,600 savers. It highlights that only about half of workplace savers feel on track with the retirement lifestyle they want, and we can see that confidence has actually been pulling back some over the last few years. However, they did find a silver lining. Check this out. Despite more people having negative emotions, they found that planning for the long term helps to offset them. 87% of workplace savers say they are happier and more confident because they are saving for retirement, and 80% are at least somewhat optimistic about their overall well-being over the next few years. Now, before we dive into the savings numbers, we need to touch on the difference in looking at an average versus a median or middle point in a series of numbers. You can get a very different result between the average and the median. It can then be very easy to draw different conclusions when you compare the two. Let me give you an example. Let's say you have 3 friends, and friend 1 has $100,000 saved for retirement. Friend 2 has $250,000 saved for retirement. And friend 3 has $1 million saved for retirement. If you calculate the average, your friends would have an average retirement savings of $450,000. Friend 3 that has the largest balance would have then pulled or skewed that average higher. And then when we take a look at those numbers in order though, we see that the median or middle point is actually friend 2 at $250,000. Now imagine if you yourself had $300,000. If you were to take a look at just the average, you might feel like you're very behind, but if you took a look just at the median number of $250,000, you'd probably feel pretty good being ahead. So it's going to be important to understand these numbers in context. Now onto the numbers, and we'll start with BlackRock. Here we can see the average savings by age from the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and up past the 60s. And what's nice is that this also includes savings for retirement that can occur outside of a 401k. We can see a nice circle graph with the average breakdown of accounts. So locate your age and find your number, and let's compare that to the Federal Reserve study. Now this is a great big chart, but we'll focus on the most recent year available, which is 2022, and I'll create a similar graph to the other. BlackRock on the left, Federal Reserve on the right. And what's interesting here is how the Federal Reserve goes from 35 to 44 instead of 31 to 40. And this just means we have to find a middle ground or interpolate. And interpolate just means to estimate values of data or a function between 2 known values. So let's say you're 50 and you want to get a better sense between the numbers. When you look at the chart on the left, or the BlackRock chart, it puts you at 213,000, and the Federal Reserve on the right puts you at 313,000. So somewhere in the middle, we end up somewhere between 260,000 and 270,000. So you can say, okay, now I can get a good sense of that. Now pay close attention to this part. If we change the Federal Reserve chart to instead show us the median or middle point, now we're seeing something very different. These numbers are far lower than the average. And when you see the median, keep in mind that half of the savers would have less than that number, and the other half of savers would have more than that number. So now if you're looking at a particular age, well, how does the average compare to the median? And then how do those compare to where you're at right now? If you're ahead on both, that's fantastic. If you're behind on one or both, don't give up. There is no single number that applies to absolutely everybody. Some people are going to be very comfortable living in a van down by the river. Some are going to demand $1 million lifestyle, but most everybody is going to fall somewhere between what you were spending just before you retired and just enough to keep the lights on. And if you just can't figure out that number, that's where working with a qualified professional on your plan is gonna start to make a lot of sense. So maybe after seeing all these numbers, you're feeling motivated but behind. Here's 3 actual processes I've seen real people use to get caught up. First is budgeting. I know for some of you that's gonna be a curse word, but that's the reality. Finding ways to pay yourself first each paycheck and then building on that can absolutely add up over time. And the second thing is to have a proper asset allocation for your long-term investments. I've seen a lot of people in peak accumulation years having way too much money sitting around in CDs or other cash. And I've also seen people that were way too aggressive. So not having the right allocation for your situation can work against your long-term compounding returns. And the third thing that I've seen people do is simply work longer or have a part-time job. And to some of you, both of these can also be curse words. Putting off retirement an extra year or two can make a difference, especially if you're in those years where you're getting paid the most that you ever will and you have a high ability to save. Now, I do want to make a special point back to the first thing, which is budgeting your time. This is a piece that gets overlooked, but it is a path to more income. For some, it looks like a side hustle. For others, myself included, it looked like more education. And this can put you or give you a chance to have more career advancement or job hopping opportunities. I know how difficult it can be to budget that time on top of a full-time job or on top of family obligation and responsibility, but I've been there myself. I know it can be done. And my encouragement would be to find ways that you can devote some time to the self-improvement to get the better paying job. So what can we take from all this? Knowing where you're at relative to your age is hopefully going to be a motivator and an encouragement to do what you can and start really thinking about the future as it relates to your retirement. So do some soul searching, really envision what you want your retirement to look like, and then put together a plan to get on track. Once more, I'm Curtis Crossland, and if you want to see how we help folks build a more tax-focused and efficient retirement, be sure to check us out at SuttleCrossland.com and subscribe for future videos.